the Le Mans 24 Hours.
Yes, for the first time, Driven will be bringing you coverage of the maddest motoring event there is. This is the Glastonbury of motor racing.
The cars are going to cover the equivalent of an entire season of Formula One Grand Prix in 24 hours, watched by hundreds of thousands of fanatical fans. We're going to be behind the scenes, bringing you the triumphs and the tears.
And I'm going to be out mixing it with the crowd as they party on through the night.
All right, calm yourself. In short, we're going to bring you all the action from this extraordinary event.
It's 4 hours to go to the start, and this year the Brits are at Le Mans in force. We'll be meeting the British teams, Bentley and MG, and their key British drivers, Martin Brundle and Mark Blundell. Plus, we go for a drive around this famous circuit.
Since its inception in 1923, the Le Mans 24-hour race has become the pinnacle of endurance racing and written its way into motorsport legend. Over the years, the track has seen many changes, but the original Le Mans-style start with drivers running across the track was abandoned after 1969. In 1955, 83 people were killed in motorsport's worst ever accident. And in 1999, Peter Dumbreck was lucky to walk away from this spectacular crash in his Mercedes. The shop team subsequently withdrew their remaining car from the race. Think of a famous marque and they've probably been here. Jaguar, Bentley, Aston Martin and Ferrari have all tasted victory, and the presence of Henry Ford himself urged his own cars to victory in the mid-1960s. Celebrities abound, and in 1979 a Porsche finished second in the hands of Paul Newman. Le Mans is about elation for the likes of Jaguar and Mazda with Johnny Herbert, and heartache for Toyota and the Works Porsche in 1998. It's about heroes like 4-times winner Henri Pescarolo and our own Derek Bell, a 5-times champion at Le Mans weekends. There have been rich pickings for other Brits too. Mark Blundell, a winner with Peugeot in 1992, and Andy Wallace with Jag in '88. Alan McNeish in '98 for Porsche, and Martin Brundle, who won for Jaguar in 1990, returns to Le Mans this year for another attempt. So, as the race unfolds over the next 24 hours, will it be another great British weekend at Le Mans? Or will our hopes for Bentley and MG be left high and dry, leaving the way clear for Audi to repeat last year's podium-filling victory? One thing is certain, there'll be a huge crowd here in all its guises to greet triumph and disaster alike. And come Sunday afternoon at 4 o'clock, acclaim the 69th winner of the 24 Heures du Mans.
Well, we can but dream, but as far as we're concerned, there are 2 dream teams at Le Mans this year. There's Bentley, who return after a 71-year absence, and of course there's MG, who are desperate to prove themselves as the sporty arm of the recently revitalised Rover Group. MG are back with 92 winner Mark Blundell.
You know, I'm very proud to come back to Le Mans with MG, British manufacturer, British driver, and I can't wait to fly the flag. After driving the race car, I'm very impressed. I think they've done a tremendous job in the amount of time they've had. You know, you have to bear in mind that this whole deal has been put together in a short period of time, and it's a compliment to the engine people and to the chassis builders, what they've turned out.
Sharing Mark's drive is sports car veteran Julian Bailey and up-and-coming Formula 3000 star Kevin McGarrity. There's no denying the potential of the MG team and their drivers, but the cars only had a few months of development. It's doubtful it will go the distance, and will the new drivers' lack of experience count against them?
I've never been involved in endurance racing before, and I think new challenges are good. It makes you focus a little bit more, and new track and everything to learn. So, you know, it's certainly very exciting times for me. I've had one teammate before, or maybe 2, but to have 5, it's going to be an enjoyable time, I think.
You know, it's a different discipline for those guys. They've come from, you know, the one hot qualifying lap. This is endurance racing, it's Le Mans 24 hours. They need to get themselves into, you know, looking after the car, looking after the gearbox, making sure when they hand the car over to the next guy, it's in one piece. I hope, you know, I can give them some of my experience, and I hope they take note, and I hope we get to the end of 24 hours. But it's a great race, you know. I think they're going to have a great experience, and it's all about camaraderie, team effort, and get to the end. You know, 24 hours is a long way to go in a race car, but it's been done, and you know, I've done it myself. I won it, and it's a great achievement.
And of course, there's Bentley. What could be more appropriate? After all, half their production cars are named after the corners at this circuit, but it looks to me like they've got a little bit more work to do before the race begins.
Bentley won Le Mans an astonishing 5 times in the mid to late 20s, but never returned until now, with the EXP Speed 8 and former champion Martin Brundle.
The development's been over a very short space of time. I think we've been on the track 20 or so days. We shouldn't even be here in reality. We've managed to shortcut the system somehow. With such a new car, we can't take the fight to Audi in terms of pace. They can run longer than us on fuel stints. We know they can probably do 2 more laps than us. We know they've got a faster car than us. So we've got to run our race to be there at the end, pick up the pieces, if you like.
Bentley are actually quietly confident about the capability of the X-Speed 8. Ironically, the engine has been derived from their arch-rival and sister company Audi. But a shortage of development time may well be their downfall.
I think we've done about 10 laps in the rain, at which point the screen's fogged up and the car filled up with water because of the high pressure zones that are feeding the intercoolers and radiators around the cockpit. So I'd rather it snowed than rain, to be honest.
So why are Bentley back after all this time? Skeptics may say that they're launching a new mid-range saloon, and their success at Le Mans means success in the showrooms.
Development year for Bentley. I think if we finish, we'll be strong. If we go away from here with a third, it will be a stunning weekend.
Alan de Cadenet explains the rules and the classifications at Le Mans.
The first category that we're dealing with is the LMP 900 class. Now, these cars have to weigh at least 900 kilograms. The Cadillac's running a turbocharged 4-litre engine, or you can have a normally aspirated 6-litre engine, but they're restricted, so you don't get more than about 600 horsepower. And as you can see, these are open 2-seater cars. However, the Cadillac has got this night vision camera here, just like the road cars, so their drivers can see at night. Maybe quite an advantage for them. The second category that we're considering is the LM GTP category. There's only one entrant in that class, the Bentleys. Now, these cars are allowed a bigger restrictor than the LM 900 cars, which means that they get more horsepower. But because they've got a closed top, they have to run slightly narrower rear wheels and tires, which means that their road holding is almost as good, but not quite. However, these Bentleys are here to show what great cars they are, and I'm sure they're going to get really cheered on by everybody in the crowd. Our next group of cars are the LMP 675s. These cars cannot weigh less than 675 kilos. This Reynard Judd has a 3.3-litre Judd V8 engine giving about 540-50 horsepower. Or you can run a 2-litre turbocharged engine, but it would be restricted to give you the same sort of horsepower. They run narrower tires like the Bentley, but these cars can go further on the fuel load than the bigger LMP 900s. So cars like this Reynard Judd actually stand a very good chance of getting in amongst the leaders when they pit. If you can keep this car out on the track, just turning round and round and round, it'll do very well indeed. The next category down are for GTS cars. These are basic manufacturer's high-performance road cars that then get even more highly modified to go racing. At the Daytona 24-hour race this year, the Chevrolet Corvette surprised everybody by winning the race outright. At the Sebring 12 Hours, the Saleen S7R had a class victory, which also surprised everybody. The engines are restricted to something like 600 horsepower, and whilst these cars are several seconds slower than the fastest cars in the race, they'll be surprised if at the end of 24-hour race there isn't at least one GTS car in the top 6. The final category here are for GT cars, which are basically high-performance road cars, very limited modifications allowed, and virtually totally dominated by Porsche GT3s, although there is a Callaway running as well. These Porsches are built at the factory, sold to owners. They've all got the same kind of engine, about 420 horsepower, and it gives an amateur driver a chance to get here to Le Mans, get in the race, get some experience and have some fun. But you do spend a lot of time looking in your rear view mirror. So that completes the 5 categories that the cars run at here at Le Mans. And don't forget, whilst an overall win is what it's all about for the big manufacturers, class win is what it's all about in those different categories.
After the Formula One Grand Prix at Silverstone, Le Mans is the second biggest British motoring audience of the year. But what makes this so special? Why every year, sorry mate, the 80,000 of us cross the channel to make the annual pilgrimage to worship at this, altar of speed? Well, Mike has been finding out.
Right, here we are with my old friend John Hindhoff from Radio Le Mans. Now, Radio Le Mans only transmits 5 days of the year. It's a very special media. Now, John, you've been doing this for a few years, haven't you?
Just a few, yes.
Just a few. And apparently, this is where it all happens down here at the village.
Village and the campsites on Friday night. It's where there's no track action, so everyone's gathered around. They've had a chilled out day. Most of the Brits have been down here since Tuesday or Wednesday, so they're out for a bit of fun.
Radio Le Mans is manned by enthusiasts for the thousands of fans who make the long drive year after year. John is going to take me on a campsite tour to find out why they come.
It's the fun of the race, but also the drive down here as well.
For those that don't understand, Le Mans is a religion.
Mike, we've lined up a little treat for you here at the end of our Mad Friday campsite tour on Radio Le Mans.
Present?
Well, sort of. Last series of Driven, you were a little less than complimentary about a certain Caterham car, weren't you?
I was, yeah. But no, it's a great car for the track, I must admit, but to take the car on a long journey, well, it's a little bit unwieldy, a little bit uncomfortable.
That's
But
not
it
what
looks
you
like
said.
I've got to eat my words because this car park is a sea of Caterhams.
I know this man, Arnie Webb,
Yeah.
won some stuff on Radio Le Mans a few
How you
years
doing?
ago. Now listen, what have you got to say about this man, Mike Brewer?
Oh, well, Mike's got a bit of a reputation in this club.
In fact, this would be more beneficial to you lot at home if JP, come and stand over here. That's my cameraman, JP. Now turn round, and I think I better stand with this lot. So, now come and say what you got to say.
Stand there and
Mike
stand
Brewer,
there.
learn to drive. No, Mike. Yeah,
Yeah, Mike, you had a bit of difficulty driving the 7.
yes, I did have a bit of difficulty. I do admit I had a bit of difficulty driving the 7, but then, admittedly, it was a wet. I'm going to defend myself here. If you like what you've seen so far, you can get full live 24-hour coverage at our website at 4car.co.uk. There's also a chance to win a Porsche Boxster for the weekend. Coming up in part 2, Penny gets a drive around the circuit and we'll be behind the scenes in the pits.